Have y'all ever noticed that God said, "Let there be light" on the first day, but he didn't create the sun until the fourth day? That's because the light on the first day was Jesus.
You have to love how Christians tend to make things up in order to fit their narrative. You see, when I was a child, when I was a young man, the church line, the party line was that the light that was brought forward was not Jesus, it was God, God the Father. It was God in totality that he provided the light. And then I always had the question though. He said there was the day and the evening, and then that was a day, the first day one, Yom, utilizing the word Yom in there, which is means a 24-hour day. So this God blinked on for 12 hours and then blinked off for 12 hours, because it starts out by saying that in the beginning, or it should read in your Bible, it should read something as such: when God began, in the beginning, when God began to create, or when God began to create, the earth was in darkness and was chaotic, meaning that it's only talking about the earth. It's not talking about all the other stuff that we know today because they had limited scientific knowledge. But this idea that the Jesus character is now the one who was the light, as that young lady proposed, and there are others who propose that same thing, is just trying to make your narrative fit. Because for the previous, when out from in the 70s and 80s and 90s, I can say that the overwhelming majority of believers that I dealt with and that I studied were always talking about it was God, and I myself was teaching that it was God. Right? So now it's Jesus, because they want to fit Jesus into the Old Testament narrative. But it becomes problematic because you have to ask the question, if God is the light, and but darkness came back every day until the sun was created and the moon was created, and they believe that the moon gave off its own light, then who is the darkness? What is the darkness? How can the universe exist without this God's presence if he is omnipresent? Because this demonstrates that there's a time frame when this God is not around. So who is the darkness, and who was the darkness beforehand? I mean, it sounds more like the Egyptian story with Apophis reigning in the darkness and the chaos, but then Ra is born from the cosmic egg, and Ra fights Apophis every night to bring the sun back up. So it sounds like that story. It doesn't sound like something that was an original story, but a story that was borrowed, that was utilized. Or it also sounds like the story of the Anunnaki Sumerian, which did get filtered into the Canaanite story, which is Anu and Namu, the waters above and the waters below coming together and creating, land. But then as far as it being in chaos, now that sounds a little bit more like the Babylonian version, with Marduk killing Tiamat and using her body to create the earth and create the land on the earth, and so on and so forth. So it's like a constant molding of a compilation of other people's story. But since we get to Jesus, now they have to add Jesus to the story. So the story gets redone. It's kind of like, how many Rocky movies are we really going to have? It's the same way of how many Jesus stories, how many biblical stories are we really going to have before we finally say, you know what? There's no more story to tell, because it's all just a story. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.